No, I request here, Madam Mr. to give a bouquet to the speaker.
One minute.
Now, I request here, Deepak Ladda, Chairman of the branch, to give welcome address and overview of the program.
Thank you, Secretary of the branch here, Ravi Shankar Reddy. A warm good evening to all the members of Hyderabad branch. It is a very delight to see all the seniors, the mid-40s, mid-50s, and the young generation. I think this topic is very relevant for all of us. So I'm very happy and also thankful on behalf of Managing Committee of Hyderabad branch for your attendance on time. I sincerely thank Senior Counsel, Senior Member of our profession and past SIC member, Devta sir, who has readily agreed to consult on such an important and burning topics which all of us are facing today. Section 148 and 148A, the issues which we are facing. We have also circulated the Google form. Many members have already posted the queries that we will take up. Sir will address on the issues of section 148, 148A, and the dilemma and the clarity. I would say the clarity and also the dilemma the Supreme Court has saying that discarding the Allahabad High Court judgment, saying citing that notices are valid and 90,000 assessment should go on. So what is the due dates? What will be the procedure to be followed? Because as we all know, section 148 and 148 are totally completely different procedure to be followed by the AO and by the SSC. So I would not like to waste much of our time, and thank all the members once again for coming to these important social occasions. It is the program where the gathering is make the program successful. So we get a lot of motivations with your attendance. So we request you to please support the managing committee to do good programs, and with your time and with your energy and with your interactive, only the program will be successful. Thank you.
Sir, I requested not to give introduction of you because anyhow we don't need any introduction. It's synonymous with you come back some treasure of knowledge and experience. So request not to take conversation.
Good evening, gentlemen. My introduction would be that I am also a chartered accountant like you. Only thing is I was born earlier. Now, the topic that has been assigned today is a burning topic where the amendments have been made inroads into the provisions of the Act. The perusal of the provisions previously and what is today, there is a vast difference, with the Supreme Court also, the Honorable Supreme Court also sitting in to say what is to be done. Now, before I go into the basics of the topic, one issue which I would like to tell all of you and take guard is, whenever a notice comes, don't delay. Please file a reply. If you are now in 140 or 148A, if you are going to take a further extension, the period of limitation to make the assessment is also extended. So therefore, you should see that within that time frame. Now the Act says 1 week and not more than 30 days, whichever is the thing. If you want to finish the whole thing with that particular issue, there should not be a problem. Now let us see what the law was before this amendment. That is the law prevailing prior to 31st March 2021, where only 148 notices would have been issued and you must have faced the national placement scheme in relation to these notices. And if any assessments or replies are still pending before the NFAC in relation to the old regime, you can also take up the matter presently. Now, when I say this, whenever an assessment is reopened, first and foremost, you must file the return. First obligation. After you file the return of income, ask for the reasons for reopening. The same thing will apply even under the new regime. There's nothing much of change. So once you ask for the reasons, once you have got the reasons, don't stop there. Please ask the assessing officer, please let me know on what basis the assessment has been reopened and what are the reasons for reopening of the assessment and what is the material that you are relying on to reopen the assessment. Now, suppose, let me give you a small example. In the course of search of Bawarilal Jain somewhere in Bombay, he gave a deposition stating that there were accommodation increase in relation to bogus purchases. Now, the notice only states, we have got information that during the course of search under 132, in the case of Bawarilal Jain, we have come to know that he has given you the accommodation increase. Therefore, the purchases are bogus and it should be added. What would be your reaction to this? First and foremost, if you are relying on any information to reopen an assessment, first and foremost, you will have to ask is, who is this Bawarilal Jain? What did he say under 132? Exactly what did he say? Does my name appear in the course of the search in the list of names given by him? You cannot, on the basis of a blanket thing that in the course of the search in Bawarilal Jain's residence or office premises, there was the assessment got the necessary. The next limb of the explanation is the DIT investigation sometimes passes on the information. This is what has happened in this particular case. Please see what can be done about it. Reopen the assessment. Now, here what happens is the reasons recorded must stand or fail on the basis as recorded by the assessing officer before issue of notice. He cannot develop it. If he's giving you the reasons by way of a letter, don't accept. There are standard operating procedures. Please, first of all, ask him what the standard operating procedures is. What did the assessing officer have to say? What did the additional commissioner say on this? And what was the approval given by the CA? Now, whether your case is strong or weak, it is not at this stage to decide. What all you have to see is what is the information given collected by you. See, you cannot just say on the basis of this information and reopen. What is the quantum? What is the total amount involved? He has to specify that. In Bawarilal Jain's statement, copy is enclosed. In the course of the search, so many questions were asked, and he has agreed to that he has given you accommodation interest. Then, please write 2 lines. Please produce Bawarilal Jain for cross examination. This is mandated. And if Bawarilal Jain is staying beyond 250 kilometers, tell the assessing officer I will make all travel arrangements for him and also his accommodation in Hyderabad. It will not be done. Put the request in the document. Assessing officer won't follow all this. Put it because under the civil procedure code, if the distance of the staying of the witness is beyond 250 kilometers, you have to do all this. Produce him for cross-examination. And if he is going to give you the opportunity to cross-examine on the last day, please file your objections. You can't cross-examine a person on the last day of limitation of case. So you ask for the reasons. Once the reasons are given, you have to file your detailed objections. And then, under section 151 of the IT Act, the concerned official, whoever it may be, has to give his approval. Now, that approval also should be questioned because you just cannot say yes. If in the approval, the authority has said yes, it is no sanction. You should give reasons as to why. Many of the chartered accountants do not ask for these reasons. These are very imperative to say whether the entire proceedings are based on the provisions of law. So if he does not give you the reasons or the reasons given are totally contrary, now let me give you a small example. Faceless. We have got information when we ask for the reasons for the opening, we have got information that so-and-so DGIT investigation gave us the necessary information, and therefore we are reopening the assessment. So what sort of a reason is this? What is the income statement? What did the DGIT say? Give me a copy of that correspondence of DGIT. How will I find my objections on the basis of a call letter as this? So therefore, you have to ask for the reasons. Once you ask for the reasons, file the objections. If you are not satisfied with the objections reply of the assessing officer, you've got two remedies. File an appeal in the regular course or file a writ petition if it is necessary that the reasons objections have not been disposed of. If the reasons for reopening the assessment is not given, in spite of your asking, the entire proceedings are invalid. Because unless you get the reasons and file your objections, don't go on reminding him once or twice, write a letter and keep quiet. If he doesn't give it, that will be the procedure. But unfortunately, the courts and the appellate authorities are holding the view. Look, I am giving you the reasons now. You file the objection. Some succumb to it, some say under protest we are doing it. But the reasons recorded should be given. It cannot be modified. It should go on the basis of the information given. If this much is understood in relation to the reopening of assessment proceedings, then you go into the merits of the case, how it is bogus. Bogus purchases. Now, bogus purchases are of categories of its two limits. I make the purchases as such as genuine, but the party who gives us the bills is second. So the purchases has come, it has entered into my stock. You will have to prove it has entered into your stock. Then the question arises, because it is unaccounted purchases, a percentage may be added, but the entire purchases cannot be added because it has gone into my system. Today I make the purchases and take the bills. So if necessary, we can also ask him to be cross-examined, or he will give a letter, he will give you the PAN number, he will give us the account copy, everything all that is made. So under these circumstances, the question of treating such accommodation fees on the basis of merits also emerges. And what the appellate authorities, including the tribunal, are doing now and the high courts, since you have made the purchases, we will take a percentage of profit on the purchases and make an addition. It could be anything. What is your normal gross profit? Question of expenditure being allowed on that will not arise because already the expenditure is debited to P&L and you cannot again further claim expenditure. So the entire purchases, a percentage, 10%, 15%, 20%, as the case may be, is taken and the matter decided. Now the question may come up on these basis, what would be the position in law? So therefore, the reasons recorded must be asked for, and the reasons should stand or fail on the basis of the reasons recorded by the AO. Don't go by any communication of the reasons to you. I want the standard operating procedures to be followed. It is there. Recently, the Bombay High Court in Tata Capital Services laid down the parameters of what the assessing officer should do. If you are relying on any decision, please give him the citation so that he may rebut. If you are relying on any document, please give him a copy of the document so that he may rebut. Now, these are the entire, this entire edifice or substratum of the reasons that has to be gone into under first blush. Once this reopening is done, then you challenge the reopening on what basis it has been done, sanction of the appropriate authority. Now, the Supreme Court recently has stated there are inbuilt measures in the new provisions where the approval of the higher authority is to be taken. Very true, I totally agree. But when the approval is given, there are about 50 files before the appropriate authority. Now, he has to give his reasons as to why he is giving the approval for reopening. What will he do? As an economic student, you are fully aware of the law of diminishing marginal utility. One or two he may take and go on saying yes, 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 yes in respect of the others. Under such circumstances, the sanction given by the appropriate authority is not in accordance with law. Therefore, the recording of reasons and the reopening of the system is required. Now, how many of the orders are taken on these lines? When the matter comes up before the tribunal, we ask the assistants, the chartered accountants who gives us the brief to say, has this been done? In most of the cases, we find this basic question of asking for the reasons and filing objections has not been adhered to. With the result, they go on merits it gets dismissed. It would be very difficult for me to say the reopening is invalid at that stage because we have not taken the necessary plea at the lower stages. Of course, I can make out a case to file it as an additional ground, but how far I succeed, I wouldn't know. I wouldn't decide, I guess, at that point of time. So therefore, the question of having recorded the reasons, these are the inbuilt provisions. Under the old regime, any matters are pending. Under 149(1)(b), if the income escaping assessment is more than 1 lakh, the quantum should be specified. the quantum of income escaping assessment should be specified in the notice. If you don't specify the quantum, how will I know what it is? So therefore, it becomes imperative that you must mention the quantum of escape. Now, what does the faceless do? He gives you 3 days time or 2 days. How many days he's giving now? I do not know. But hardly 3 days or 4 days he'll give you, and he will say you file your reply. Now, how are you to file a reply within 3 days? First objection, the assessment, the time allowed is too short. It is violative of the principles of natural justice. Without prejudice to this ground, I am making my submissions as that. You will have to make it because we can't help. Even the courts today, although they are saying that the National Faceless Appeal Center or assessment has not given you the necessary opportunity, still the courts have held it is better we give them another opportunity and it is sent back. So I am back to square one. Instead of passing the assessment, they say we will not pass the assessment. That is what happened recently in the Supreme Court decision in relation to 148 and 140. They said we wouldn't like to pass the assessment. The Allahabad High Court, the Gujarat High Court, and all said we have to pass the assessment. And in fact, the Delhi High Court in Kohli's case reported in 441 ITR, they said to the same effect. Once 31st March 2021 is over, the old regime fails. It's repealed. You cannot bring that back into the statute. Although many feel that the Supreme Court decision is now the word of the law country and Article 141 is binding, so we cannot do anything except that. Now, what happens to the under these circumstances? If the reasons recorded are at variance, suppose he has given you the reasons and you ask for the standard procedure forms, and you find that the reasons recorded are totally different from the reasons recorded given to you. In fact, before the Bombay High Court decision in Tata Capital Services, one entire paragraph was missing. Whether there was any omission or failure on the part of the SSC to disclose fully and truly all material facts, that entire paragraph was missing. The court came down heavily before that and laid down 6 or 7 parameters. I would request all of you to go through the judgment of Tata Capital Services. It gives you an insight into what are you have to ask. That will give you an insight into the whole issue. Now, another reason. You have disclosed in your return of income, you filed a return of income, and no assessment takes place. In short, the time limit for issue of one notice under 143(2) within 6 months from the end of the financial year in which the return of income is filed has elapsed. So there is no assessment on it. Then later on it transfers in that return of income under 140, when you file the return of income, you have disclosed certain income I won from so and so, from shares or some agricultural income or whatever it is, you have disclosed that. Having disclosed that, you are under the, your onus is discharged. Now, the truth or falsity of that information which I give in the part 4 of the return, there is a column in the return of income, I believe it is so even now. If that is so, then you have to fill in that column that this is so. Let me give you a common example. You are all aware of this penny stock cases. So when filing the return, they give every detail of that, when it was purchased, when it was sold and all that. Then 143. Now suddenly it comes to the knowledge that it is found that on the basis of some information received, this penny stock is bogus. Now they say the assessment has not been completed under 143(3). So therefore there is no question of change of opinion because I have not touched the file particular file at all. Now if the assessment is not taken for scrutiny, how am I responsible? That is your administrative act not to pick up for scrutiny. So I cannot be, as far as I am concerned, I have disclosed all the material facts necessary for completion of assessment. Here also, the recording of reasons in an intimation which is reopened or in a 143(1) assessment which is reopened, you will have to give reasons for escapement of income. There should be a real and substantial nexus between the income escaping assessment and the amount of tax that has escaped totally. Unless this is given, it will not be proper even under 143(1). 143(3) is a different matter. NFS, the National Appeal Faceless Appeal Center, is already in the know of things. They don't give any reasons for reopening. And I'm talking about the whole regime. So unless If the assessment is completed under 143.3, even in respect of all pending appeals, you can raise this plea, saying that once I file the return and disclose all the particulars, there is no omission or failure on my part under the proviso to section 148, and therefore the reasons to come. These are some of the basic issues which one has to bear in mind and look into the whole issue at hand. Now, having done so much, you have asked for the reasons recorded any number of times. It has not been. It so happens that in the course of the assessment proceedings, the assessing officer says, here are the reasons recorded. I have two options, one to accept it or not to accept it. Because what does the Supreme Court said in JK and Style drive shafts in 259 ITR? First, you file the return, ask for the reasons. He has to give the reasons within a reasonable period of time. And then you work. Now, if you are going to give me the reasons on 27th March when the assessment is 27th December, when the assessment is being completed on 31st December, that's no opportunity at all. Therefore, it will not stand the test. But we don't take these stands. Take all these stands, then go to the merits. If your case is strong on merits, no worry. If your case is not strong on merits, go on the legal side. But attack and both the friends. Don't give up any ground. Now, there's one section which all of you should read. Section 152 of the IT Act. Section 152 of the IT Act says, where any assessment that has been made has been not the subject matter of appeal under 250, and it is not been subject matter of revision under revision petition under 264. And if you are able to demonstrate, this is very important section for your new regime under 148A. If you are able to demonstrate that there is no income escaping assessment, then the question of 148A has to be. What does your new regime say under 148A? If you have got any information suggested, it is suggested on the basis, I don't know what is this word suggested. If the information in the possession of the officer suggests that there is escapement of income, now the escapement of income should be emphatic. It can't be in the form of a suggestion. There's no guesswork here. You have no suspicion here. So therefore, you have to be very, very clear. Now, suppose he suggests in that manner, then what are you supposed to do? Then the only problem is we have to give the necessary information. Even if they give you only 2 days time, it should not take you 1 hour being professionals to give a detailed reply. I reserve my right to make further submissions. The portal may close. But they cannot close the portal till the last day of limitation. If the limitation is, let us say, 31st December, they can't close the portal on 16th December after you file your reply. You got a reserve of another 15 days to give your reply. Now, if the portal is not accepting, take a screenshot of it. It will help you in appeal, saying that it is not accepting. So therefore, these are the various measures you should take in response to it. Now, coming back to 150, if you are able to demonstrate that there has been no escaping assessment at all, and the income already disclosed by me has been taken care of, all your the selective basis of income and material in your possession, then the reopening proceedings have to be dropped. 152 section is hardly invoked by any of the professions. Let me give you another example. An individual had 2 status, one individual, one HU. So in both these statuses, in the status of individual, right or wrong, he got 2 PAN cards. He wanted to surrender one PAN card. He wrote to the NSDL authorities and he said, look, I've got 2 PAN cards, please take it back. Then they wrote one big letter of 25, about 1.5 pages, follow all these procedures and your portal or whatever is the computer aided techniques, and please further. This happens. Because how do you expect everyone to know the chances of this? How do you know the chances of this? Susie did not do it. Now, in the HUF status, he purchased a Benz car. The funds have gone from the HUF funds. So there is detriment of HUF funds. So the car belongs to the HUF. But unfortunately, in the absence of the assessee, his subordinate gave the PAN card of the individual, which was a duplicate, which was an excess PAN card, and the notice started issuing. We have got information. Then the assessee stated it is wrongly given. The correct PAN card is HUF, and the funds have gone from the HUF. He filed almost about 100 pages of the entire price information. Still, 148A notice has been issued. They have said we are not happy with your proposal. So somewhere it has been taxed. Somewhere the sources are shown. So why should there be a very big issue of whether it is shown here or there? I've considered it's a wrong PAN card. So therefore, these are some of the basic issues. Now the matter is, if they have issued 148, I don't know where it will take them through. But there is still the entire selective material of the court spoken. So these are some of the basic issues which I wanted to highlight. But then the complexity of the issues involved. You cannot by a notification extend the period of notice. It has to be incorporated in the act. Although you have got one amending act of 2020, whatever you call it, but unfortunately, I would be hauled up for contempt of Supreme Court decision. But suffice it to say, the decision of the Delhi High Court in Mohan Kohli's case and the decision of the Ahmedabad High Court in Ashok Jaiswal are two parameters to say instructive judgment of about 49-50 pages each judgment, other one running into 70 pages. All these things have been brushed aside by saying that these new procedures have to be followed. Please take all the notices issued prior to 148 as prior to March 2022 as the old notices as issued under the new. Now mark my words. The Supreme Court decision says all notices issued under 148 relating to past days after 31st March 2021, please take it under the new regime. Now, what does the new regime say? First, you should issue 148. Then you should say what are the issues involved, what are the basis of information is in your possession, and then you must give me an opportunity. Then I must look into that, file my objection. Already 148 is issued. Now, how do I go back to 140? So Supreme Court said, in an appropriate manner, you will have to take all these into questions. We cannot strike down the notices as invalid. The great point is, already the Bombay professionals are planning a repetition of this on this particular issue. I do not know how far and where it will be carried, but suffice it to say, under such circumstances, the question of issue of notices are transparent. The sum and substance, don't reject, don't ignore any notices. Let me give you another example. This demonetization scheme, 8/11/2016 to 31st December 2016. There were a lot of cash deposits. The assessee said it was out of sales. Now, the officer has not disputed the quantum of sales, but he says all this amount is out of that old notes or whatever notes, new notes, 115 BB, 70%, 75%, 78% as a tax mechanism. See, this is where the question comes. The reply is given in such cases is that there is cash balance of this, this is my cash book, it has come out of my sales, this is for your information. Now, the officer says, all the cash sales which you have made, no addresses are required. Now, in a cash sale, why should I write the address? This is one of the reasons given by the assessing officers. You have not written the cash sale, you have just written cash sales. As long as I've got sufficient stock, and from that stock, the sales have emanated. The question of saying it is not so will not arise unless you have information that are material to show that the entire sales are books. Which means going into the books, if are only sales shown without a reduction in stock, or in the same stock shown without any sales being made, all these questions arise from the facts. Now, the assessee is the best judge. I do not know how many of you will agree. Most of the assessees do not dive into full information to us. After the event happens, only they come. They don't come before and ask, this is the position, what am I doing? Nobody comes to it. So under such circumstances, how do they say, sir, etlana cheyandi, em cheyali? You don't come in the last minute and say, somehow you are the best judge, sir. Otherwise, if I know everything, why will I come? You don't come. So now these are some of the basic things which we normally face. Tax audit, the clients are very intelligent. They test your skills. 30th September, they'll come only on 29th or 28th. Give you all the details of cash book ledger, what we will do at that point of time. The rest is history. I don't have to explain. Anyway, so under these circumstances, I was slightly deviating from the subject. Now coming back to the subject proper. Now let us come to the new regime. Now, old regime, we have seen so many things. In the new regime also, the question of asking for the reasons and all not changed on the basis of suggested material. What is that suggested material you have to ask? If anybody has given anything, you are entitled to ask. Unless he gives all that, you say, I cannot find the objections. And if I am not able to file my reply within 30 days, the extended period of limitation to complete the assessment will not be applicable. If you go on asking for time without reasons, the period of limitation also extends beyond a period of 30 days only is given to you. Minimum of 7 days, maximum of 30 days. Beyond that period, you have to do that. The more you delay, the more extension of time. You can't say it has become time barred on 31st December. Because to the extent of extra time taken, we are necessary. So care and caution. First thing, please give a reply to all the notices received. Ask for the reasons. That is very, very important. Once you ask for the reasons and the necessary information. Now, 148 has made a lot of drastic changes. 148 starts A, B, C, D. There are 4 rules. So first thing is your necessary material. What is the officer that has got in his possession? Then how is he going to treat it? How is the permission given? If now every move of the assessing of, you must remember this basic principle. Every move under 148A is subject to sanction of the concerned authority. If his sanction is not according to law, if he just says yes, it's a mechanical sanction, the approval given is not correct, and therefore the proceedings are. So under these circumstances, you will have to take into effect all the necessary issues. Now the board has come and suddenly said the finance ministry has analyzed the entire Supreme Court decision and said we will not issue any notices 13, 14, 14, 15, 15, 16 if the income assessment is less than 50 lakhs. It's a very good move, but again, it is the amendment should come in the act. How can a finance minister can give from her office or to her 5 wise men I call? She's got 5 secretaries. And so all the 5 wise men have to come together and say what is the correct position in this. So they have given a lot of questions. Now, in some of the questions they have deliberately asked or not otherwise, the questions are so twisted to say that unless you follow these measures, we will do this. Everywhere the first line of the proposal says, so ask for the decision of the Supreme Court, ask for the decision of the Supreme Court, so that they wanted to stay clear of any controversy on this issue. But every clause given there, every material they have suggested is subject to litigation. You cannot just on those conditions, unless they are satisfied, say according to Supreme Court nation. So under 148A regime, the whole issue has to be kept in visualized form. And they have also made amendments to the provisions that if when the provisions relating to 148 you are in such a position that these time limits for completion of assessments has also been watered down to 3 years, and then where the income escaping assessment is less than 50 lakhs or more than 50 lakhs, less than 50 lakhs, it is 10 years. Now, what do I do? In respect of those assessment case where it is again, I should ask the assessing officer how the necessary notices have been issued. But this proviso will not apply to such assessments. Such assessments are totally separate. On the basis of such conducted under 132, any money, bullion, document, or any other property is found, then that takes a separate proceedings. So these exceptions will given to the time limit will not apply to such assessments. Only the period of completion of assessment. So therefore, And on these provisions of 148A, if you are in a position to demonstrate, then there is absolutely. Now, the National Faceless Assessments Appeal Center, they give so many reasons for you to say. Now, one letter I got, I'm surprised initially, I wrote back also. Kindly give all the details of the expenditure debited to P&L. This is the question. Where do I start? Where do I end? Please furnish all the details for expenditure debited to P&L. Where do I start? Now, I don't know where to start. So I have to reply. Now, this was given because the time limit was expiring. So we had to write something in it. I said this does not partake the character of a correct notice issue. Therefore, the notice is not deemed to be issued. In which case you can't take my case for scrutiny. Anyway, they did not agree. The matter is on a different scale. But what I'm trying to say is such sort of replies. I return an income of 10 lakhs and I borrow 50 lakhs. The person who has borrowed is confirming, yes, I gave him 50 lakhs. And he has given the PAN number, his account copy, bank account copy, everything, whatever not necessary also he gave. Then what happened? The faceless center says, how can you borrow 50 lakhs when your income is only 10 lakhs? Now that is what the findings of the assessing officer. Good. If he's going on that right, it is very good. I'm happy. But my cry is that the entire amount of 50 lakhs he adds under 115 BPE. My problem is that 78% pay 20%. If you want stay, pay 20%. Same position will continue. So therefore, when you are replying to such notices, we have to be very careful. If it's going on that side, let him go. The more mistakes they make, the better it is for me. I will very gladly accept those things and give a very nominal reply. But some of the basic issues are that one has to be very careful in giving such replies. And let me also tell you, I don't know where my case will be. It's faceless across the country. If it goes to Bihar or if it goes to some other place, I wouldn't know what sort of an assessment order I would get. Sundry creditors. Now, when they issue a questionnaire, give all the details of purchases, give all the dates of sundry creditors. Why are they outstanding for more than 6 years? Already those assessments are completed. I have brought forward the figure. How can you look into all those things? No. You give it. Vague questionnaire is given. So you have to file a reply. We can't help it now. I am told that a separate committee has been constituted to look into high-pitched assessments. But who are manning it? Again, the officers of the department. There should be some outside agency to man it, one or two at least. But unfortunately, again, if they are going to man it, how long will these people say over-pitched assessment or high assessment? What is the criteria and all these things? This high-pitched assessment and asking us to pay 20% is nothing but collecting money at the cost of the assessors. So, what I'm trying to drive home is you'll have to be careful and cautious in respect of your drafting skills have to be whatever you may say, And then, whatever are the laws of the subject, you have to be thorough with. Now it is faceless. So you have to be thorough with the case laws of the subject. Whatever is the issue on hand, unless you know, we will not be in a position to reply. Now the reasons recorded, it says, if you are relying on any decision, please give them the citation. The reply will be nil because he does not know what the citation is, what is the decision. I don't think in any case they have given any citation so far to my knowledge, except in a case of 1 or 2 which we have distinguished. But what I'm trying to say is you have to give a proper reply and keep everything. Now, we have filed appeals before CIT, appeals before the faceless. Now, before the faceless assessment came, we have gone into all these issues and we have filed all the necessary details with the Commissioner of Income Tax Appeals here. Why don't they call for all those details from the faceless, from the CIT appeals here or from the assessing officer? They ask us to file again fresh copies. Scanning, I don't know how much it will cost, how many pages we have to give. In one of my cases, I find about 12 paper books or 10 paper books running into thousands of pages. So on all these issues, we have to take into account the major issues are these things. If you have got any questions on any other issue, please do. Let me know. Section 152, please look into it and apply. Any questions from the floor before I go into the other? Ah. Yes, I want to know the authenticity of the reasons recorded. Please give me the entire standard operating procedures for reopening. The standard operating procedures is the assessing officer will say, I seek your permission on the following reason to reopen the assessment. This goes to the additional commissioner who approves it. Then finally it goes to the commissioner, or as the case may be, joint commissioner, whoever it is. He gives his approval. You are entitled to ask at any point of time once you have made the basic. Now, if you have missed it out on email, that doesn't matter. Maybe see how many people will daily. I have to do nothing but sit before the email. I have to put one person and keep on seeing the email. I think otherwise it will be very difficult to reply to these notices unless you are computer savvy, of which I am not one. Yes, I totally agree with you. That cannot be. In fact, there have been assessments of this stage. The Madras High Court in the writ petition said this is the first year in a small town like so and so place. How do you expect everybody to be computer savvy? So therefore, give another opportunity. Give him the reasons. See, why are you shying away from my reasons? The records in the department, the records in the department of mine is my records in the custody of the department. I am prepared to. I have every right to take copies from the first page to the last page. Whatever is the information, if I want to know the reasons are recorded properly. See, the order sheet will show one reason. The reasons communicated will be one. Actual reasons recorded by the three higher authorities. Assessing officer, additional commissioner, and the commissioner or joint commissioner as the case may be, has to be seen. Then only we will know. See, you are making inroads into an assessee's assessment procedures. A reassessment is one of them. So therefore, you'll have to give all the reasons. Under such circumstances, what is to be done? So you are entitled to ask for it. This computer thing, we have come across so many things. One assessee, one accountant left, he took the password with him. He did not have the, what you call that, email ID, whatever it is, I don't know. So that, so he said, I don't know. Then these people, what they did, they called one computer expert. He tried to lock it. He opened it. It was opened after 15 days. Then immediately he said, this is the position, sir. What am I to do? I did not have the number. He did not have. It happens practically. Because he asked for an advance of 50,000 or 25,000. This man didn't give. So he quickly walks away with all that. It will be a very, then we have to call an expert and then we tell them, explain the reasons, file an affidavit. Wherever all such things happen, the assessee is the correct person, file an affidavit. Saying these are the things that has to be taken into account. But now it's not happening. Previously it used to happen. Now of late they are giving at least 10 days. 11:59. You reply by 11:59 because the 12 o'clock ends in another minute. So that's, see now what is happening is. What I would suggest is, I know that adjournment kind of thing, the last would be before 1 month completion. But he has not done immediately. What I would just modify what you have done. I would put it this way. If I ask the bank manager, he will say it is all old records, I have not taken the case. By virtue of the powers invested under section 131 of the Act, you directly write to the bank manager and get the. Write to the bank manager, ask them to write to the bank manager, not you. If you write, bank manager won't give.
We have only 50 lakhs. Whatever explainable. Problem is, I don't have the details with me. If he has the details, he's already.
So you did not have the necessary details and you have written, I don't have the details on account of paucity of time and time allowed is too short and therefore I'm not in a position to reply. You'll have to find additional evidence before the appellate authority and get it. If that is so. First, throw the ball in their court. 131. See, now my problem is I've got cash loans of the loan creditors. I immediately write to the assessing officer by virtue of the powers. He also asked me, get me the bank account of that gentleman. Already I'm borrowing. How can I go and ask him to give his bank account? I've given him my bank account number. I've given my PAN number. I've given my account copy. I've given my bank account copy where it has come. If you want any further information, please write to that person under 131. But before doing that, please inform him. See, this is what has happened in the income tax. Then you will suppose he comes around and saying, sir, don't involve me. Your problem is your problem. You take care of it. The matter takes a different turn. So you will have to give the necessary details. Yes, Kale,
Recently, there was a notice under section 148, but there is no window for filing return. So we have filed, we have given physically return to jurisdictional officer. He has accepted under an acknowledgement. So how far that return is valid?
what about the screenshot of that 148 not accepted?
148 window itself is not there.
Then you, how do we say it is not open?
No,
Is your version? Some third party.
Officer has accepted the explanation.
No, he has accepted the manual return, manual copy. But has he accepted that the window is not open?
Yeah.
That is the way the crux lies. If you can take a screenshot of that, it is not opening. I don't know what the screenshot will come if it doesn't open. So whatever it opens that doesn't open, take that shot and what you have done manually is correct. One more step of filing that screenshot is relevant.
But is it valid?
See, now the question comes, is it valid? Now, the portal is not opening. I'm not able to file the return. What do I do? At least I manually, I know the jurisdictional officer, I'm giving it to him. You please pass it on to the faceless officer, but I don't know.
And one more case, we are not able to file revised return. So we have filed a PDF copy of the revised return.
Something you have filed, no. See, if you don't file, if you keep quiet, you're in trouble. As long as it is PDF or any other thing, whatever is the mode, if you file the return, revised return, is it within time, revised return? Then no problem. As long as you have filed it in that form or whatever it is, file one manually by RPA, one by certificate of posting, one by RPA, one by ordinary post. At least one will reach.
But this NFAC has no address.
No, what I'm trying to say is, yes, we all do agree. But see, these are all the issues that is facing. But somebody should stand up and the Ministry of Finance take up these matters. They must go around with all of them sitting in air-conditioned chairs in rooms in Delhi, go around all the centers where the now we are talking about cities. What about places like Anantapur? What about places like Kakinada? That man says, I don't know anything of this computer. What do I do with such cases? You have, see, at least you should have said, allow manual filing. I'm not saying faceless only. We'll file it with manually with the officer, let him give it to the faceless. So, see, these hardships are bound to be there. Unless those people come and have a question and answer session, we can't solve this problem. Or every relative of the finance sector, every relative of the people at the helm of affairs should be a taxpayer. Then only the taxpayer will go tell the relative, look what you people are doing. Unless it reaches them, nothing will. No. Okay. NFAC is not issuing 143. No, 143.2 is issued by the jurisdictional officer. He has issued it within the time limit. Then it goes to the faces. That is the procedure now. Any notice, even under 148A, notices will be issued only by the jurisdictional officers. So then only it goes to the face list. So, but your endeavor should be under 148A at the cost of repetition, let me tell you. Give all the details to see it is dropped. If necessary, invoke 152. So therefore, if your endeavor is to look into these basic issues, now the question raised by the queries is, I am not able to get the necessary details. So 143.2 is issued by him. Then the file gets transferred to the face list. So on the first list, whenever the notice comes, only we can give a reply. Not until then. No, assumption of jurisdiction is later on the Act under 144 please. All the cases go to the face list now. No, that is a good proposal. If the officer issues a 142, you must get one more letter. I have issued 142. Your position will be taken over by NFLC. So therefore, further you hear from one polite letter as a taxpayer. I'm entitled to that now. When I'm paying, when I'm asking for 20% of the assessed tax, in spite of the heavy demands. Yes. No, it is repealed retrospectively, but all the other provisions of the Act definitely persist because 144 is repealed. You can't say that nothing can be done, so therefore the assessment will. See, now the trend in the judiciary is not to strike down any of these provisions, one, and not to say that the entire provisions are wrong. They say if there are any cases, iron out the cases. Don't annul the assessment. Don't say the assessment is invalid. At the most, they may say we will set it aside for a de novo proceedings. You are back to square one. They will never annul an assessment. The trend of the judiciary is so. Yes, proceed. Thank you, Chairman. Thirteen, 14, they have said 3 assessment years, no? 13, 14, 14, 15, 15, 16 won't be reopened if the income escaping is less than 50 lakhs.
1 year.
Only 1 year. Why should you take it for 2 years?
For example, my FD is 50 lakhs in say 2016.
Maybe 49. To be on the safe side. Arithmetically, North Block is weak.
No, my question.
If possible, anyway, sorry, tell me.
So the officer is telling that my income escaped is 50 lakhs. But that 50 lakhs is over a period of 7 years.
No, you cannot. You have to see each year.
Each.
Reopening is each year. You cannot say that. You have got every right to write back. Your interpretation is wrong. But we don't write. The client will say, why are you writing so harshly? We have got work with him. You please don't do any such writing. You'll be putting me into problem. Devdas sitting in the roster will say so many things. It is not that easy to see to take care of the situation in your field.
So it is per year.
It's per year, always per year. Income escaping assessment foundation. Beyond 3 years. You can't, beyond 3 years is always below 50 lakhs, they can reopen, no? 3 years is the time limit normally. Yes. Yes. But anyway, the income excess is less than 50 lakhs, no? Then no problem. You should be hands down. You cannot write 2 crores when the income escaping assessment is not 2 crores, no? Then it's not valid. Facts, you have to demonstrate by facts. Where did you get this 2 crores? Please let me know how we have arrived at the figure of 2 crores so that I may respond. See, all depends on how you reply to the whole issues involved. If I told him, we'll have to explain how you got it. No? New notes of old notes of multiplicity of notes, what it is, I don't know. But you'll have to give an explanation. All 8/11/2016 is the same. Then, if you are saying 8/11/2016 to 31/12/16, your deposits are 5 crores, how did you deposit? I'm asking you a question. From where did you get this deposit? No, whole year says why only on 8 November to 21/20 you are depositing? Not in that period. So you are over a period of time. What happened in the preceding year? Same trend? So very convenient. Subsequent year, see the trend how it is. Suddenly in 1 year it is so. I am trying to say, if my deposits are taken illustration, 8/11/2016 to 21 with my cash deposits are so much, how much is it for the corresponding previous period? Some people started booking sales from October, November, April, May, June. So therefore, we'll have to demonstrate what was there. See, the whole thing is human probability involved in this. As you are trying to say it is denied, the department also will try to say it is not. Ultimately, it has to be resolved only by the application. But make the facts strong. See, don't worry about the law. If your facts are strong, after all, law is born on the hard soil of facts. So it will definitely help you. So much so the facts. Once you take care of the facts, you can't go beyond High Court or beyond the final fact finding authorities type and stop. The buck stops there. Unless there's a substantial question of law. Yes, definitely it will apply. See, the issues have not changed. The income escaping assessment concept and all that has not changed. Here it is only, we have got suggested is the word used there. 148A will use the word on the basis of the suggested material information we are having. The whole concept has not changed. Still all those laws will equally apply. Only thing is whether a notification can override the act. Now the Supreme Court, one school of thought says, once the Supreme Court has given a decision, it's final, you can't go and take any argument. So whatever you are saying, I won't agree. I said, fine, don't agree, we respectfully differ. Yes. No, client means a personal question or what? Okay. Okay. 6 years by which year? Now we were prior to March 21. Okay, it has given notices at 148. Okay, then the new limit will apply according to Supreme Court. So they have to give you 148.
148 hearing, we will be asking for
yes,
the
yes.
If the reasons recorded are, if the material sales less than 50 lakhs, we can simply say that it's not
Yes,
applicable.
30, 40, 50,
Yes, sir.
It's for the board circular.
Yes, sir.
Or finance ministry's directive or whatever it is.
Yes.
But they should place it before the parliament so that it becomes law.
So now we'll be receiving a fresh notice under 148.
Now the problem, here comes the crux. Now, whether you will receive a fresh notice under 148, the Supreme Court said the proceedings will continue. No new notice. Now, whether 148 can be issued presently, the Supreme Court said you amend the law. Iron out the creases. If you want 148A, we will give now 148A.
So we should wait for the new notices to come, sir?
Yes, no, 148A we will give you now. Because I do not know whether you have seen the questionnaire given by the gazetted officers. In that, one of the question is this. So they have said it can be done. Yes, it will be given. But only thing, my thing is, can I say the issue of 148A should precede notice under 140. Because 148A, you are saying so many things under the new regime. And you say the new regime will apply to the old regime. So what is my position of interpretation? That is a question that has to be answered. My personal view, and one more thing I would like to tell all the audience here. Whatever I have stated are my personal views. Neither the Hyderabad branch of the Institute of Chartered Accountants, nor the Southern India Regional Council of Chartered Accountants, nor the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India are responsible. And please don't quote whatever I said to your clients, because you are the best judge as to how to apply. And so therefore, one has to be very careful in analyzing the situation. That is all. Anything else, gentlemen? Now you are purchasing a property for 1 crore and you paid payments over 25 lakhs. What is the document to support that?
So every installment we have paid, sir. So ultimately, the last year when the completion of plan is over, then we have made the sale deed, sir.
Have you paid all the amounts by checks?
Yeah, as per checks only, and 26 QP, 1% TDS is also.
I don't know what is this QP anyway.
So now the issue is that the income escaping assessment, suppose for the 4 years, SA has not filed the return.
No, if he has not filed the return,
Yes,
but he has bought the flat
yes, sir.
by paying it in installments by checks.
Yes, sir.
He has got sources.
Yes, sir.
So 148, what are the reasons given?
So suppose, sir, if it is exceeding 50
No,
lakhs,
suppose, what is the reasons given? You are supposing a.
Because there is amendment now, sir, from budget finance bill 22, for adding the asset value is more than
50 lakhs.
for each of the years, sir. When the investment is made, it should be reopened now, sir.
But each year where I made investment. 25, 25, 25, I made over a period of years.
Yes, sir.
So if you want to reopen now, you can't reopen the past years, only the last installment you have to reopen, which is below 50 lakhs.
Okay. As per
How
the
can it-
amendment also.
Yes. It cannot be done like that. You can't take the aggregate value.
Assessment proceedings. For what? Because that notice went to the old CA email. And as per digital footprint, as per the data of the department, that has been sent. But it was received by the old CA in the first week of April 2021. But the new CA has not taken that stance that it has been
But why did
received.
the old CA and the new CA change? Any reason?
Because now I'm handling the appeal.
Okay.
Issue, not concerned with assessment.
Yes,
proceeding.
okay.
So now, because if the CA has appeared or not and are cooperated during the assessment proceedings, then he cannot take the stance of invalidity or wrong service of notice or belated service of notice. So can we still take up the matter?
You can definitely take the issue of jurisdiction. Jurisdiction does not go by your consent. There cannot be any consent as far as the jurisdictional issue is concerned. So once there is no jurisdiction at all, the question of, now you raised one question. The notice was dated before March 21, but it was served after March. Issue means served. That is the decision rendered.
Yes.
So it is deemed to have been served on 31st March. Before 31st March. Once it is issued, issue means served. You need not serve it immediately. Unless there is a long delay, then an explanation can be sought. Otherwise, that's why they issued on 31st March, 11:59. Have you seen any notice beyond that?
No, not. But actually received, now the judicial opinion is it should have been received in the email of the assessee.
No, email, it has been received, but we failed to see the email.
Received it later. It was received in the email. It has come
It
into the
was received in
inbox.
the email also subsequently, but it is dated before 31st March. So it is
should have been
issued.
served.
So the word issue, even email under the section, I don't
No,
remember.
it should have been received in the inbox of the email.
Yes.
Inbox email of the assessee.
Has it been received?
It was received after first 1/4/2021.
Yeah, once it is received after 1/4, the position does not change. You will have to take it as valid service. Because they will, you try it out, I wouldn't say
No,
not try.
served, the word used should have been served before 31st March.
No, it is no doubt, it says it should be served before 31st March, but courts have interpreted the word issue means served. So if it is issued before 31st March, it is as good as served, unless there is a long delay. Now, assessment order is passed on 31st March. It is served on 4th April. What happens? Same question. Then you should say it should be served before 31st March. See, it's passed on that date. So here also it has been issued on that date. Maybe the service is delayed, inbox or whatever it is. But the other chartered accountant can file an affidavit in respect of the first, why did he not respond as he should respond? Or why the email? See, this email thing, let me tell you, courts have been very liberal. You can always file a writ petition even in the worst of cases.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening, sir. in one of the case for excellent year 15-16. 148 year has come. SC has not applied. And next 148 has come. It has a time up to 28th of this month. On perusal of the bank statement
No,
of the
first file the return. First file the return. 148A, you did not reply.
148.
Then 148 is served.
Yes,
First file the return.
yes.
Ask for the reasons.
The reasons are like this. As
What
per
like, tell me how it is.
the bank statement, they are shown like cash deposits 15 lakhs.
Yes.
The same thing was converted into fixed deposit. That was 15 lakhs. And one more 15 lakhs they have added, and another 5 lakhs they have added, and more than 50 lakhs they have shown, stating that is
In the same financial year.
the same financial year. But all the other
But
transactions
then
are
are you not in a position to state that these 50 lakhs or whatever it is you are able to explain? Sources are available.
Actually, those are all correct one. These are all the repetitive things made by the department.
Dictates of the department fixed
Yes,
deposits.
yes,
Which
yes.
officer is this? I would like to meet him.
They said it is all the bank people. They said they have received this statement from the bank.
Ah,
In the bank statement, they have said like this, 15,000, 15 lakhs.
so the money doesn't belong to you.
Yes.
Doesn't belong to your
The
account.
same transaction was repeated.
No, no. The money doesn't belong to you. Are you prepared to give it up?
See, 15 lakhs they are shown as the cash deposit. The same thing was fixed deposit was made.
When was the fixed deposit?
And the same year.
Same year,
In
the same financial year.
Same day
Yes.
also.
Okay.
And one more time it was shown as a 15 lakhs cash received. And it
No, the
was,
same amount is it kept in fixed deposit?
yes, yes.
So you are rotating.
They are
Debit,
rotated.
credit, debit,
Bank
credit.
people, bank people, they are rotated. In
So
the
the
shift.
peak, so what will be the peak? So what will be the peak? How can you add, it's arithmetical mistake? 154.
Bulk of the notices are on this issue only, about 2 lakhs.
No, I'm not able to understand. You took a deposit for 50 lakhs. What is 001? I didn't know.
So cash deposits exceeding 10 lakhs, all the cash deposits, whether it is exceeding 2 lakhs or not, it will totally aggregate with us. Again, there is a CIP information, sir, where cash deposits exceeding 2 lakhs is only because. So the cash deposits exceeding 10 lakhs information has the information of these 2 lakhs also. So they are taking these two informations and adding some.
But what's the difficulty if you can prove there's no time?
Then you hear the deposits are below 50 lakhs.
Then you challenge that additional commissioner. How did
They are making some 148.
Wow, then you challenge how did the additional commissioner or commissioner give the permission for issue of notice?
Yes, sir. Many of the cases are there.
This 48 did not give us the bank statement. Just for the lack of bank statement, they have issues on 48.
No, bank statement, if you are not in a position, ask them to write to the bank and get the bank statement. Immediately you write. Don't.
Here's the problem is also, because this is the bank, whether it is asset or not, is also the problem. They are adding all the police officers. Suppose we give you the bank statement, actually the cash deposits are below 50 lakhs. Then they are adding the other bills to the bank statement, saying that you don't want.
No, suppose you have deposits and withdrawals. If you take a sum, I deposited 50 lakhs. I have to explain only the first 50 lakhs. Then I withdrew 40 or 10 lakhs. I redeposited 50 lakhs. You can't add 50 and 50, no.
That is why they have added like this. They have aggregated all the things like that.
This is preposterous.
Yes, sir. And the instructions given to the listing officers is must issue notice under 148.
No, you cannot. Then you have to take it up with the time. Okay, one more thing. Why don't you write to CP grants, this one finance ministry's thing, that this is all happening, you will hear in 15 days.
I read, sir, they transfer the file to AO.
Say what? Say what? Then you tell the AO to deal with it now.
He is telling that our division is not there. AO is not able to give the notice.
No, but where is the AO now? It's all faced this now.
No, sir, till the issue of notice, it is jurisdiction.
Census circle is not there. Then what you should do? Acha, Federation of Chamber of Commerce, AP Tax Bar Association, make a representation to the Chief Commissioner.
Damage is done, sir, no.
No, don't pay, file a writ. That's what we don't do, file a writ petition.
That's why, sir, we are not filing the written response to 1.8. We are waiting for 1.8.
Yes, in that case, but then you see, if you don't give replies to the notices, then they will say you have not given, that becomes a human psychology, why have you not replied, that itself will go against you. Non-compliance, see, any person sitting here, I issue a notice, right or wrong, I'm expecting a reply from you, if you don't reply, prima facie adverse. If the onus is on you to prove. The prima facie adverse. Then you must meet the Chief Commissioner and tell him all this, let him write the court and get it. That they will always say, what is the question of satisfactory? Yes, what happened, 50 lakhs?
On perusal of the bank statement, and first of all, how you got that 15 lakhs, I asked them. They said, we have sold the plot. That 15 lakhs,
Did you ask how you sold?
client.
Right.
So he said 15 lakhs only you have received,
1.5 or 5.0?
151. That was deposited in the bank. The same thing was,
You pay capital gains on the sale of plot.
it was not, they are not paid. They are not paid, they are not paid the return also. Now, so since it is a less than 50 lakhs, can we challenge it?
Last budget, 13, 14, 14, 15.
14, 15.
14, 15 also
15.
here, those principles of concession will apply. Only if you have filed a return, if you have not filed a return and not, nothing applicable. So you have failed on the first count. You sold a plot, at least capital gains you should have paid.
Okay.
Working level, you didn't pay. What you are saying? You should have paid, no?
They are not paid since. No, that's what. They are not paid. But how she has got, she also don't know.
Oh, she doesn't know how she got it.
Actually, spouse has transferred that amount to her account.
Then the spouse has to be assessed. As
He
well
was
as the wife.
no more at that time. So in this situation, she got the 148 notice.
Then
Then-
your question is taking a two different terms.
Yes,
You said this husband gave the amount to the wife.
yes,
Is there any evidence for that?
yes. Plot was sold on her name only.
No, her name. You said the husband gave the money, you said.
Yes,
What is the proof that the husband gave the money?
it was bank transfer.
Bank transfer.
Yes,
So husband has got a bank account,
yes,
wife has got a bank account.
yes.
From the husband's bank account. the
It
wife
was
has-
transferred to.
My husband has to be assessed. How can the wife be assessed?
And yes,
If the husband is no more assessed, the legal representative.
since the income is less than 50 lakhs, can we?
No, you can't take unless you file the return. You see, this is not an escape route for people who don't pay the taxes. You have paid the taxes and then if the income escapes, that's what. We can't have this a bit too far. So now what is the balance left now?
Okay. Thank you.
So the balance comes is not revealed.
If we cannot contest a threshold, we have no room to contest at any point of time.
No, you can file additional evidence before the appropriate authority. The commissioner of police file an additional evidence.
Taxable income is there,
Hmm.
but it is below 50 lakhs.
Yes,
My contest is below, and it is time barred.
no, but you file the return.
I not filed. It is a taxable most of the non-filer,
Okay.
but
There is no taxable
transaction,
income at all.
there was sale of property,
If you
there is a
no
capital
tax,
gain of 30 lakhs,
he has got capital gain of 30 lakhs.
30 lakhs.
He paid tax on capital gain?
No. Not paid, but because it is below 50 lakhs.
No, you can't take that. See this one. See, you
Why
can't
not?
say
Why not?
up to, you are just saying up to 50 lakhs, the threshold limit itself should go up. Because it is not the
It's
case.
barred by limitation, sir. It is barred by limitation.
Part by limitation is a different aspect.
That's what. I can take that
That is the
stance.
main issue.
I can take that stance.
Okay.
That is the legal.
Part by limitation is okay.
Barred by limitation. That's it.
Then it's okay.
Sir, in the continuity of this, barred by limitation cases, is it mandatory that you should file a return, ask for reasons and say it is barred by limitation?
You must any 148 first file the return, GK, like chats, idea, 2, 3.
Yes, sir.
First, it says file the return. Ask for the reasons. File your objections. Then proceed.
Now, if the objections are overruled, then do
Who
I have,
overruled the objections?
suppose the AO doesn't
AO will not agree with you.
agree. Can I file a writ at that time?
No, writ, you see, this is a very, very precarious thing which you can take because normally writs are not entertained if you have an alternative. So they will say you have got an alternative, why don't you pursue it? It is not automatic.
So it will be a long drawn process.
Sir, in these cases of 140, not 3 years, and where the income escape is less than 50 lakhs.
When I'm filing response written under
When it goes
148.
the circular of the court, when it goes the circular of the court, they have given that reference, you know, that is 3 years to reopening.
No, they have already issued 148. 148 has been issued. Now, when I'm filing the return, can I upload the return to tax payment?
Approve the return to tax payment.
I'll not pay the tax.
You have not paid the tax at all. How will you provide without admitted return, it accepts?
Yes, XML is generated.
As long as you file it, you don't worry.
Okay.
Only thing is interest and all will come.
No, anyway, it is going to be time bound by limitation. So, thank you.
Because the circular is not like they are not having to- Go ahead. Tell me. Physically?
Physically, yeah.
You are in the physical mode, not under.
No. What happened there? The dated notice is 23rd of March or something. 4 days have been given, but physically they are served on 31st. But what happened? Meanwhile, in April, holidays were there. So on 6th, the response was filed.
Within 30 days, you have to file the return in response to 148.
No, 148 days, sir.
148 means
Yeah.
the minimum period allowed to you 7 days, maximum is 30 days.
Yeah, on 6th April, we have filed a response.
So-
or online also and offline.
Yes.
We have given.
But as he said in 148A, you file within a period of less than 7 days or less than 30
4
days.
days, sir. Just 4 days were there.
4 days he has given.
Yeah.
No, not valid.
4 days were there. 23rd was dated.
No, when the section that says minimum period of 7 days
Yes, sir.
and maximum period of 30
I'll
days.
just
how
check
can
up, sir.
you-
Actually, I have to check up also.
Ah,
whether it was 4 only.
They are giving 7
But
days.
31st was confirmed. It has been, while giving acknowledgement also, it has been given, sir. Only my thing is, 6th response was filed. On 7th, they have given a 148. And also order saying the sufficient time has been given and you people have not given response. On 7th, they have given. Dated 7 order.
Definitely take it, no problem.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Now, the chairman wanted me to go into the Supreme Court decision. Now, the Supreme Court decision, we cannot comment anything. It has been laid down. But my only fear and question is, how are you going to issue 148A when the notice under 148 has already been issued? The Supreme Court also said, no, you have to do like this. You cannot interpret it. You are not interested in flashing. Maybe in this period, the 148A may receive may come after the 148.
A few questions on that, sir. What about now the CBP circular statement for assessment of 13, 14, 14, 15, 16, 17, they will not take up with the below.
Yes.
15, 16.
15, 16 and 16, 17.
No. That is 14, 14, 15,
15, 16. Yeah. What about the order that has been passed till now and the assessee has not contested it? Because there are certain who has gone writ petition, there is a case pending. There are few assessees who have gone with the normal procedure, did not file the writ. Their order is passed. It is below 50 lakhs in the order itself. So whether the order will be quashed or they will, how
You did not file it yet.
the appeal is will be going to file now.
File it now.
Yeah.
No problem. Once you file, you have to take it.
So we have to file a appeal.
Yes, yes,
As
yes.
without that it will not be.
Okay. Either a revision petition under 264, fine. But if you go on the 264 route, then what will happen is that it's final. Whereas if you go in the normal appeal route, then go to CAT, I go.
There is one question, sir, from Ramarao, sir. There is a long-term capital gains of more than 50 lakhs in exempted schedule under, I think it was the old 1038 case, 10 subsection 38 of the IT return for the assessment year 13-14. For, sir? Yes, sir. For which STT was duly suffered in Kolkata Exchange and intimation was. Yes.
Address not known.
Address that is not given. Yes, sir. And intimation was passed under section 143(1). Date of the order was 26 March 2015. Again on 22nd July 2016, a letter was issued by Principal Commissioner of Income Tax calling for information of LTCG for the assessment year 11-12, 12-13 and 13-14. A reply was filed on 12th August 2016 with the details of purchase scripts, statement of contract note, bank statements, etc.
Which script is this?
That name is not. Also, please note that for assessment year 11-12 and 12-13, assessment were made under section 143(3), where the long-term capital gains are shown under exempted income. We have received a notice under section 148 of the Act on 28th of June 21 for the assessment year 13-14, which was contested at High Court, for which interim stay was granted. So, High Court. So what? So that exactly.
So when now, see, you have you disclosed the long-term capital gains?
Yes. It is under exempted column. Exempted column. Yes. They have not accepted that. They have opened it, reopened the assessment. They are saying the penny stock could be the penny stock. Yes.
Stocks are not being reopened.
Yes.
So another 1 month's time, now okay. They are going to go actually quite what is this which one down there, but they have made some visits to those places. The address itself is not there. With no door number, the person is not there. In a small group of 10 by 20, 60 companies are there.
Okay. Sir, the Supreme Court held that all the decisions under section 149 new are available to both assessee and AO. In the provision of subsection 149 new says no notice under 148 shall be issued for assessment year beginning or after perspective 21. Beyond the time limit prescribed under 149 old 1 subsection B. This is conflicting with the judgment itself.
Now, this is conflicting with the judgment. Now they will say you apply the new provisions for the opening and go into it. Take a stand like that. Why should you not take a stand under such circumstances? Take the new provisions and apply the provisions of the assessment. If you are not agreeing with the old provisions. The contest, you have to contest those issues. Any PTO is there?
Nothing. Sir, representation in the form of an asset. What is the asset definition is not been given anywhere.
As a chartered accountant, you should know
basically, if I claim excess loss in the previous 3 years, that 50 lakhs or it is not the as on the date of the assessed opening that loss I have claimed excess depreciation loss or anything.
Loss of profit, it must be some underlying asset. Without an underlying asset of the profit or loss.
Yeah, but that it is not representing in the form of asset. Is what the question.
The loss we bought it as a sold profit and you have given loss.
Yeah.
So the underlying asset is an asset of. Okay. That goes without
Asset definition also they have given there. Immovable property and all 3 items. I think they have given in the exam. Yeah.
Is it like 56? Entry in the books of account through an array and what are the other items? Maybe unexplained expenditure, everything comes. It will be very
earlier after 140, 1422 they have given the definition. For the period 1/4/21 to 31st March 22. The
Same will apply.
Okay. And sir, as per the companies, there is a limitation of the statutory requirement to maintain the books only for 8 years. And the income tax says if you bill 7 or 8, I think it is 8 years. MCA is 8 years. Now the income tax says below 50 lakh, they can go up to 10 years. So statutory.
We are not concerned with what the company tax is. If a time limit
Above
is given
above.
under the Income Tax Act, if a time limit is given under the Income Tax Act and you have to reopen for 10 years, you must.
Yeah. Yes.
Then the question of impossibility of performance will come. Take that stand, take that stand. Nothing wrong, take that stand.
Any more questions? Shall we call it a day for the questions, sir? What options?
Thank you very much.
Happy evening, friends. I would request Chairman if you closing remarks. Let me first thank sir. Thank you very much, sir, for coming on this occasion. Thank you very much for being here and enlightening all of us.
Let us revisit this topic, not through me. Another 6 months, we'll see there is a lot of changes. Bound to come.
Thank you, members, for being over here, and I request you kindly participate in virtual or physical forms wherever it is possible. Request you. Thank you so much for being here. I would request Narasimhan sir, Vivek Narasimhan sir, to kindly give a memento to today's.